What's up, guys? I'm John from Equiline.
And I'm Shane from Heads and Tails, and we are the League of Breeders.
Welcome to the show tonight. I want to thank everybody for coming out. Once again, we have an awesome episode. We have Leviathan snakes up in here. So we have Stephen and Courtney in the house. So real quick, let's just bring them on. And then we'll say what's up to everybody who made it out tonight.
What's going on, friends?
What's going on? We appreciate you guys for coming in.
Quick question. What was the Beanie Babies for?
You'll have to see.
That's the passive gas. My bad. That was an accident. Sorry for the spoiler. Yeah. So, yeah, that's part of our passive gas. So I started doing it where I had like all reptiles and all animals and everything, which is awesome. Like everybody loves it, but everyone's just like gas, because we're all animal lovers. So what I've done with the passive gas segment is take that from the animals to just kind of like anything and everything. You know what I mean? Kind of see what people like, kind of get into people's personalities and kind of like, you know, find those nostalgic things, you know, here and there and find new wacky sorts of things and stuff. But yeah, so that's kind of what we got planned on coming up.
So we've seen you guys everywhere out there. If you guys haven't seen Leviathan Snakes, y'all need to like, comment, subscribe. Make sure you go subscribe to them. For real. Guys won the 15 minutes of Lane from Snakes and the Fat Man. Congratulations. That was awesome.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Real quick, so we will get into that. But real quick, can you guys just tell us a little bit about yourself? So Stephen and Courtney, you guys are the faces of Leviathan Snakes. Tell us about yourselves, your family, you know, what's life like?
All right, do you want to go?
You're fine, go.
All right. So we, Stephen and Courtney, and we Courtney started Leviathan Snakes. I think it was 3 years ago in August. So when she started Leviathan Snakes, when very first got into it, she just had like pets and things like that, and like kind of wanted to breed. And I was like, that's weird. No, we're not going to breed. What are we going to do with all those animals?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, so we're in our third season now, which is a lot of fun, and we do it together. It's just the two of us. We had 15 clutches last year, roughly, and we're looking about 15 to 20 this year. So it's exciting. We've got a lot of new stuff going this year. A lot of stuff that we bought very early on is up to size this year. Excuse me. So I'm really excited about what we're putting out this year.
Yeah.
So it seems like, oh, my bad. I didn't mean to interrupt.
Oh, no, you got it. You asked the questions. This is your show.
No, you're good. So I was just going to ask, so it seems from your YouTube and all your social media, it seems like you guys have been doing this forever. It seems like you guys are seasoned veterans, that you guys are at the ranks of Canova and everything. So how did that come about where, you know, you're doing so well with your social media in such a short amount of time?
Yeah, fronting. We're faking it. No. So I think a lot of it is we have marketing backgrounds, and I think that we take a lot of the like stuff that we have from like our professional careers, and we also apply it to snakes, and it is what gives the perception that we've been doing it for like longer than what we've had, or that we're more put together than what we are. But yeah, we're fronting, as Courtney said. So,
hey, great execution. Fake it till you make it, right? Let's do it.
Well, that also shows you how important branding is, and because like you can come from maybe just having only a little bit of experience, having an awesome brand, and doing really well because you're putting that branding to work. You're putting maybe your customer or putting your customer relations ahead of things or whatever. Just having like using your knowledge.
I mean, and that makes me kind of think about like, you know, you guys are still new to the hobby, but that doesn't necessarily mean anything as far as like knowledge goes. Because I mean, we can learn so quickly and stuff. As far as, you know, like being like Canova or something, I think the measure of success is a bit different than like the measure of years you've been doing it. You know what I'm saying? To where you guys are coming up so well so quickly.
Yeah, we were talking about this today, that there are a lot of people who have only started within the last 4 or 5 years they just don't talk about the fact that they've only been doing it for 4 or 5 years. They came guns blazing, and they have
Yeah.
already like made a real name for themselves, and they just don't mention the fact that they started in 2019, and people just forgot, or a lot of people came in after them and already saw these huge platforms. I think that's something that happens for us is people come in,
Okay.
they have a platform, and they assume we've been doing it for a long time. The difference for us is that we talk about the fact that we're newer a lot, because we talk about it on YouTube, we talk about it in interviews. But I think if we just didn't mention the fact that we've only had 3 seasons, I think we could just secretly like we could go.
Yeah, absolutely.
No, I'm saying
Absolutely.
if we could have gone under the radar.
Yeah.
I mean, it's also important. I mean, because you guys are killing it with the social media, and so you guys know the value of like educating and using that platform to build your brand, so you can sell your snakes. Which, yeah, I mean, I just look up to you guys so much because you guys are experts at that. Like, I mean, you guys make it look like I said, you guys have been doing it for 10, 15 years or something.
Well,
I mean, but
marketing and analytics for a lot longer than we've been doing snakes, and we apply that
Sure.
I guess expertise from different.
Yeah, like we don't feel comfortable going in and saying like, honestly, like, here's how you ID a specific combo. Like, I'm like, that's not something I'm like
That's not
really good at.
But we can tell you all day long our recommendations for like marketing, because that's what we have experience in, and that's what we have professional experience in.
Absolutely, and that's very interesting to see that there's that you can get other experiences from life and be able to put them into this. Like for me, I've been building stuff for quite some time. So as far as like my rats, all of that stuff is all me building. For a lot of my other animals, I build enclosures, and I'd done like I'd sold car parts for a long time. So I mean, as far as selling things go, I'm like, oh, I kind of get that. So I'm hoping that I can implement those things as well into mine as you guys did. That's awesome. Speaking of implementing things, I had seen your guys's how to get started with like $2,500. I love that video.
Yeah, those are some of the best videos, I think. I mean, they're all good videos. But...
I didn't see that until recently.
Oh, okay.
That was an old video.
Yeah, Steven gets a lot of good feedback on those. And then we have other people who we get a lot of good feedback on those, and then we put a lot of effort into like a different type of video, and Steven's like, this one didn't even do well. I should have just made another.
Yeah. Oh, don't get us started. The ones we put the most work into never hit, and then we'll do a dumb one, and it's like, 32,000 views.
Yeah, we have that conversation like every night. We're like, oh man, I just posted a short. I put in, like an hour's worth of work, and you get like, 100 views. Well, not 100. Okay, you can do better than that. Yeah, a couple hundred.
Yeah.
I mean, you're like, I at least got to get 1K, even though that's not a lot, because you guys are getting thousands of views.
We've slowed down, I think, on our views of especially with like reels and stuff.
They stopped paying in April, and that was a bummer.
Yeah, once they stopped paying us, we were like, well, we don't want to do this anymore.
Yeah. So we were part of the Real Play bonus program for about a year ago, and then the whole program ended this month in April. So
gotcha.
But yeah.
So you're just less motivated.
So no more reels, man.
Oh, no. It's just like before we were putting them out nonstop because
we got paid for
they
it.
were giving us pennies.
Right. Yeah, okay, I got you.
But now
Yeah,
it's
for
kinda
sure.
like I feel like they stopped pushing our reels as much around the beginning of the year, and then now they're not paying for them anymore. So unless they start getting traction again,
we'll do reels when it makes sense for us.
When
to do
they're
reels.
fun to do.
Yeah. I feel the exact same way as far as them not pushing reels since like this year. They really like my reels haven't been doing as well either.
So we were last year, I would say it was pretty common for us to get like 10, 20, 30,000 on a reel.
Yeah.
This year I feel like it's like 5,000 is like what we're getting.
Yeah. I'd be happy with 5,000. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
I think when we started doing the contest and our what we were putting out was so specific to the contest and the hobby, we got a little less reach because of that.
Oh, okay, sure. Yeah, that makes sense, I guess.
We put out a couple that were like pretty good reels, and those got some traction, like the spinning one we did. And then we went back to the campaign reels, and our like viewership dropped again. So it just hasn't really back up yet.
YouTube's been doing well for us. So.
Oh, okay, nice.
Heck yeah.
So, you had a question, you said?
So back to that 2,500. Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, I was just gonna say, before you do a question, I just wanted to say hi to a couple people in the chat, if that was okay.
Oh,
man, I was about to try to get yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Let
Go ahead.
do their show.
I know. I'm sorry. She's gonna beat me.
No. Yeah, like I said, we've been trying new things here and there, trying things out, whatever. But yes, man, absolutely. Say what's up to everyone. We did not get to that yet.
I saw like Brandon's in here, Matt, Ken.
Yeah, what's up, Brandon?
I was in here earlier, Stan. There's I don't know who's all in it like right now. Just kind of looking over at the comments. But they're all awesome dudes. Awesome dudes. I don't know if
see, we got Stan, Tamara, Heads and Tails, Tamara, Frank, Cole Waltz.
Heck yeah. What
everybody.
up, Cole?
Thank you so much.
What up, Stan? What up, Tamara? What up, Frank? Appreciate all y'all.
And
I see you guys out there. Mixing Reptiles, Mad Summers Reptiles. All y'all. Appreciate you.
Yeah. And I did leave Leviathan Snakes link in the description, as well as Heads and Tails. Make sure you follow both those guys. Dylan, what's good? What's up, man?
So, back to the $2,500 breeding project one. I noticed you'd made that a while ago, and I was wondering, would you still do it the same now as you did back then?
No, I wouldn't. Not that I think that
we all evolved.
Because I think we did. It was like what I said in that one was like essentially get a clown, get exanthics, make your double hets. Down the road, you can make an exanthic clown. Prices have dropped considerably. I would say $2,500 and you're going to do an exanthic clown project. You could probably buy those double het exanthic clown females for less than $500 each. You could probably get yourself a clown het exanthic or exanthic het clown male and still be within the $2,500. I would go about that completely differently.
Yeah, the prices have just changed so much. You gotta redo the video.
Yep.
Right. I mean, you could possibly even get codoms into that mix as well. And make some crazy combos.
We actually have some Xanthic clown stuff available, like that we've produced this year, and I think that we have not gone in and like adjusted their prices on Morph Market. I think they still 2021 prices, and we just haven't updated it because we aren't really pushing the animal right now. But people are probably if they see our stuff, they're like, why do they think they can get this much money for a pastel double head?
It's like it's been up there a while.
It's because I just haven't thought about it.
Okay, so here is a quick question on that. As your snakes age, they grow in size. Do you change the price according to the size?
It depends on what it is. So sometimes, like if I have an Enchi, like a single gene Enchi female that hasn't sold in a year, she is considerably bigger than she was as a hatchling. So she's sooner to start laying, but she's not necessarily worth more to me because I don't her. If anything, I'm like, I love this tub space. So I would probably drop a price there. But if we had a sunset that hadn't sold in a year, we would definitely.
I don't even. I think if they stay long enough, it is like,
that's I was gonna say
you won't even consider selling it if it goes past a certain weight.
Yeah, right. Because then it's worth more to you to keep it, right?
Well, so we actually had like a snake this year. We have a banana clown boy that somebody had put on hold, and then they were gonna like buy it once the weather had kind of gotten. Out for them, and then once that happened, they were like, hey, I'm actually no longer able to purchase this animal. I'm gonna have to not purchase him. And I was like, well, shoot, he's like 300 grams and I'm keeping him. He's not that far away from me. So I'm just gonna hang on to him.
I would say that for the most part, the way we kind of price animals is we will look on Morph Market to see like what is the like market value at the time that we're ready to post them. And like let's say that we're posting an animal and we're like, all right, market value for this snake is sunset, and it's $5,000. If that's
Right.
like you said it. We will set the price at $5,000, and if it's something that we are completely down to hold back, we're pretty firm on it, and we won't drop the price. If it's something that we're like, okay, we do want to sell this snake, we will go back like after a couple months, and we'll be like, all right, this, if it hasn't sold at that point, is it still that market value? And if it's not the market value, we'll adjust the price. But that's kind of like how we go about it. Is if we are willing to hold it back, we're pretty firm on the price. So
Okay.
We kind of do a thing like if we have animals from last season by January, we're not really pushing those animals between January and until we have more clutches, because I think we have 6 snakes
that are available
right now, and it's not really, we can't really go to shows, and it's it's a lot easier to focus on that when we have a lot of hatchlings going. We just don't produce enough right now to, like, year round.
Yeah, no, 100%.
Push those animals. So we'll hang on to them until we start doing shows again, because they're all like $100 snakes, and that we'll bring with us.
Yeah.
I thought. Now I gotta ask you: is Leviathan snakes like the future of what you're trying to do? Are you gonna quit your job one day? I mean, what's the future look like in 5-10 years?
I think this is a really good question. We talked about this a little bit today and all that. So when we very first got into the hobby,
we were in a long car ride, so we talked about a lot today.
So when we first got into the hobby, and we were like, all right, we're gonna do this as a breeding business. One of our goals was to make a brick and mortar like pet store, reptile store in the area. It wasn't anything like that in here. And then as we got further into the hobby, we kind of realized that the people who are willing or who buy like $5,000 snakes are people who often already have other animals and they're breeders, and they already know what they want, and they're significantly easier customers than the people who are buying their very first snake. That's not saying the people who buy their very first snake are anything like bad, but they have more questions. There's a lot more care. There's a lot more stress on them because they aren't used to having an animal that eats once a week. And if it doesn't shed on time, like they get stressed out. So I think that then we shifted towards like, all right, let's go. We still want to make this a full-time business, but we want to focus more on like the higher end stuff. And then I think that what ended up happening is that we realized that, like, not in like a conceited kind of way, but we both make pretty good money just from our regular job, that we would need to make a lot of money from snakes in order to increase our income and
replace the snake income. So like if you're making $10,000 a year in the snakes, if you're making $30,000 a year in the snakes, you don't just need to make your income. You need to make your income plus that $30,000 that you're
and plus enough to handle the taxes. It makes us significantly more. And essentially what ended up happening is that we're like, maybe down the line, that's something cool that we'd want to do is maybe one of us go full time. But if it happens, I don't think it's going to be anytime soon. Like, I think it's going to be significant.
It was. So the thing is it is a lot of work once hatchling season rolls around. So it is kind of hard to be like, we'll be working full time at our current job that we each of our current jobs. It might be that some things change around for us. Maybe one of us takes a position that's like work from home, remote, and that maybe has less hours. But I don't see us.
Yeah, that would work well.
Yeah,
so you guys are going to be aiming for the investment Isaacs.
I knew you I've been watching that too. I was like, that's pretty neat to be able to to be able. It makes it easy to remember. And then you're like following with how things work and the different types of people. But real quick, guys, I hate to cut you off. We're gonna actually go to a commercial break. We're gonna come back, get right back into it again. Hope you don't mind. But let's pull this up here real quick. Oh,
stick with us, everybody.
See, I'm getting used to this. I'm like on desktop site, but where is it? Sorry, it's way harder. Oh.
I was checking comments, but they're right there too.
All right, there we go.
In the meantime, I see ASM and HRP. Warfuls, what up, Warfuls?
Jeez.
Enjoy. One more turn. Amanda Harold.
It makes you first.
All right, we got this ready to go, I think. So it is, if I can get it.
For the victory lap though. Whoa, whoa. They ain't never seen nothing like this before. Lit the room when I came through the front door. Ask me if I should overcome. What for? Train in the trees, please walk my sycamore. Touch burning sands, cross lands and stormy shore seasons in the year, yeah. Ain't no channel for champions and chain no fear. Yeah, the champ is here.
Ever need a drink after a good workout? You see my rep the cool. Stay cool, rep the cool.
Do you love your balls? Do you worry about your balls being too hot or too cold? Give your balls a nice place to hang. It doesn't matter if your setup looks like this or like this. Get yourself a thermostat today. Your balls will thank you.
At Snake Express, we share your passion. Whether your balls are big or small, we ship them all. Day or night, rain or shine, we make sure your balls come on time. At Snake Express, we always go the distance for you, not exceeding 10 miles. At Snake Express, we bust our balls so you don't have to.
Who doth knock on the royal door?
Snake Express, bro. I got your snake.
Ah, another royal python. Thank you.
What really lurks in your backyard? What hides among the thistles? Life can seemingly spring up from anywhere. It can even develop in a stagnant pool of water and an abandoned jacuzzi. Life can be both strange and beautiful. We can even find remnants of its past. Each week we scour the globe to bring you the rarest footage ever captured. Only on Discover Earth.
That is our commercial bit, guys. That last one was a new one.
So,
So I've actually never seen your commercials, and I'm just wondering, like, how we get you to make us a commercial.
Oh, really? We
Why
were actually
not?
going to go
Why
the
did
opposite
we
and be
have-
like, hey, we could use your help.
Yeah, no, for real. We
No,
were
I
about to
don't
get
think I could
into
do that.
like,
That was too. You guys went all out. Like that was beyond.
yeah. Yeah, I wonder if I should play one more. You want to see one more? Should we play the snake?
We'll hit some
All right,
later.
all right.
We'll hit some later. We
reveal,
got,
like,
we
those
got a
last
couple
one or
more.
two.
We got a couple more.
All right.
But that's awesome. Thank you.
No, yeah, it's a huge compliment because yeah, we're like you guys did the 15 minutes of lame, and we're making like shorts just about every day or multiple shorts, and like they were genius. You know what I mean? Like we want to incorporate some of those same elements to what we're trying to do, where it's goofy, it's for fun. Maybe you're like
I think it's
advertising for a product. Maybe the product is fake, or maybe it's real, but you're just having fun with it. You know what I mean?
The Rep to Ship one, like especially at the end, like that was really good. But I liked the ship your ship your reptiles. The bike not exceeding 10 miles, that was top tier. That was phenomenal.
So here's the funny thing about that commercial is like we made that commercial, like kind of put it together. I did like all the editing and he did a lot, most of the filming, I think. And yeah, we just kind of like throw our ideas together. That's kind of like what came of it. But then we're going to make another Snake Express commercial. But this commercial is based around the beginning of that entire plot where it's like, all right, I'm a delivery service guy. I can only deliver within 10 miles. I'm in like a medieval sort of era. Like maybe sort of time got messed up because he's a medieval guy and he gives me quests. So now I've got this box. So the commercial is me leaving. Now I'm on a quest. So the next commercial is going to be me on like in between that quest. And then it'll be like eventually it'll turn into a whole story of like
I think
the Snake Express guy and the medieval lord.
I think the best part about that next commercial though is going to be me calling me.
Oh yeah,
we're for Snake Express because like I'm the knight and I'm the like receptionist at Snake Express, so I'm like it's gonna be fun.
we got to play like multiple characters, but it'll be fun to be able to get into it but it's real fun. And then we have another one we'll show you guys later that's kind of we've got a whole nother sort of story behind that, but it's fun. We can make little commercials about whatever we want and just kind of have fun with it because
we overcook some ideas too though.
Yeah. See, that's when we would do it, I'd have like one that I'd be like, this is really funny, and then it wouldn't get any, and I'd be like, oh crap.
I know, right?
Oh man, I swear. And that's part of the problem is that you put in so much work on some of these and then like it just flops and you're like I'll get them on the next one.
Yeah. I actually haven't seen the commercials before, so I'm not gonna let my job with on the floor. And I was like, wow, they put in some work for this.
So I'm saying like sometimes they'll
just like, yeah, go to so and so, they're great, and you're like, oh, okay, yeah. But that was like full production.
Thank you. Yeah, we're all right. So we are trying to structure the show more so that it's like a TV show, where you see it for an hour or so, and see you next week.
All right.
But it's fun. That's what I was saying. Is like with my intro, for example. I've been trying to make different intros for every single person and stuff like that, but now it's at the point where it's like, I feel like now I kind of need a solid intro, and then I can focus more on like the editing and doing commercials on the other, end of it, or doing more with like the passive gas, or we're also trying to develop other bits where it's just something completely different that we can do with it.
Yeah, we got some good bits stored up.
We're
building. It takes time for us to build because we're both busy too. That's the thing is we're trying to.
Yeah, it's hard to get everything
get it all in there.
We have been slammed this year. It has been like one thing after another,
Yeah,
good things.
Yeah, no, all good things, but it does feel like there's no such thing as a free weekend anymore. It's like we plan one thing and then the next, the next thing the next thing has already come up. Like I feel like we were just up in Illinois. We were just we just did something else, and now we're going again. We're going to be flying across the country here in a couple weeks. It's just a lot going on.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. And like even preparing for just a show, like we do the show every week, and after a fefew weeks you're like, oh man, this like I because you want to prepare every time and get original stuff for each guest and make sure that you're really doing your best in the interview. After a few weeks, you're like, oh man, we need to chill.
Yeah, we're like at the point where we're like, oh, we just want like a one break, 1 week to just like breathe a little bit.
Yeah,
not have to worry.
We're gonna do
man. It is a lot of work. It is like a whole other job.
but it's really cool. Like I would say that like the production as far as like the commercials, trying to make
It's
commercials
fun.
and
It's
stuff,
so fun.
that takes a long.
It does take a long time.
And we're not very good at either of them, so we just kind of like get a bunch of stuff and try to make something.
I thought they were good because they were like they're funny. They're really good. Like they're really funny. They had like obviously like work put into them, and they just kept going, and they kept being funny. I feel like that's something a lot of people have a hard time with. Like a lot of times like skits like on TV and stuff. You're like, oh, that was funny. Oh, it's still going. It's not funny anymore. But like that was funny. I enjoyed those.
Yeah, and I think that honestly, I do think that'll be a challenge. Is trying to create something new every week. You know, even if it's just one or two things, but like I still want to be original every week. Still have that entertainment and that laugh factor in there. But yeah, I mean, we're trying. I think with doing commercials and things like that, just having that as a segment, you can make a commercial or a little skit about anything. You know what I mean? So
when it comes to social media, just keep putting stuff out. Just keep doing it. That's to me the best thing you can do. Like maybe not everything takes off, but if you keep it, something will eventually, be good.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
You're getting.
I mean, there's a lot of YouTubers that start out with just basically stuff that we did, and now they got millions of followers. Where they're still kind of doing the same thing, but they've upped their production value as far as like, maybe the same sort of like.
Well, I think eventually, whenever you get good enough, you buy an editor.
Yeah,
that's
sure.
really
a whole team around you, which would be awesome. We would love to be able to get the show to the point where we do have people working on our commercials and editing for us, and it's kind of making that process easier.
Getting like a full-time camera guy, full-time editor. That's when you know you made it. You get those two, a full-time editor, full-time camera guy. You're like, all right, dude, we're really doing this.
Actually, so you guys have a lot of equipment. What sort of equipment do you guys have? Because I know I see them behind the scenes on some of your videos. You got lights. I'm sure you got mics of all sorts. I don't know. Like, what do you guys have going on at your place for your channel?
Okay, so we have quite a bit. We are two cameras that we use. The one that we've been using the longest is the Canon M50 Mark II, which is like an entry-level mirrorless camera from Canon. The reason why I personally like mirrorless cameras for video specifically is that mirrorless cameras do not have a mechanical shutter. So regular DSLRs have mechanical shutters, and what that does is it's like an actual like mechanical element that is helping it like if it's photography, like taking the picture, but it also adjusts how fast it can focus. So mirrorless cameras can focus faster and they can track you better. So we have Canon M50 Mark II as one of our cameras, and then the other camera we have is a Canon R7, which is a significantly better camera. Both of them are crop sensor cameras with a 1.6 crop factor, which if I were to buy a camera, the next camera we end up buying will probably be a full frame, so that way it doesn't have a crop factor. And we can get into all of, like this stuff in like detail, but I don't know if it's like super interesting for everybody else. Beyond the camera,
I mean, it's interesting for me, for us at least. Like that's what we want to hit on is those things that people might not be able to uncover just maybe on their own or just through Google searches.
Does the M50 have like a removable lens, or is it a set lens?
Yep, it's a removable.
Oh, it does? What millimeter are you guys using?
So I use the 22 millimeter prime for the M50. The only thing I would say about the M50, if you're considering buying one, they discontinue. It uses the M mount lens, and they discontinued it. So pretty much whatever's out there right now, that's all that's going to be out there. So that's actually why we got the R7 is it uses the RF mount, and that is like their like flagship line. Like all of their other newer lenses for Canon use that one. But that is we use a 22 millimeter prime most of the time for the M50, and then for the R7 we use a 35 millimeter prime or a 16 millimeter prime or a 50 millimeter prime. But with that 1.6 crop factor, you so again, just for anybody who doesn't know cameras a whole lot, so with a crop sensor camera, they're generally cheaper, but they are like cropping into the image. So there's a smaller sensor, so it makes it look like it's zoomed in. So if you have a 35 millimeter lens on a 1.6 factor crop, it actually is the equivalent of a 56 millimeter lens. And there's like again, there's lots of different things on it, but like 50 millimeter lenses, because of how it distorts the image, is like the ideal. It's like the standard for portrait photography. So because a lot of our videos are us talking and all that stuff, that's why we use a 35 millimeter lens that gets the 1.6 crop factor up to 56 millimeters, which makes it look natural to us.
Absolutely. I gotta ask because I'm sorry. Go ahead.
And I didn't know any of that.
I was kind of gonna go along those lines. It's like, Steven, like, you're so like, where did you learn that? Was it through school, or is it just through your own passions and your own?
That stuff specifically about videography is through like really YouTube and like just research and stuff like that, that I've done on my own. So I got into marketing. My bachelor's degree is in English. My master's is in creative writing. And like throughout it, like I like way back, it was like, oh, if I could get a job or if I could make a living writing science fiction fantasy novels, that'd be like the dream. That's cool. That's really cool. Wanting to be a rock star. It's like, some people might be able to do that, but very, very few people actually like make a full-time living writing novels. So it's like, what is a field that uses the same types of skills that I learned like through my education, and it was marketing. So my first like big marketing job that wasn't like freelance was I was the social media manager for the South Carolina Army National Guard. And in that role is where I really like got exposed to like video editing and like photography. And it's like I learned it from that role. At first I hated video editing because I felt like it was a bunch of work for very little payoff. I was like, I can take a picture and get just as much likes as it takes to edit an entire video for hours upon hours, and it's about the same. Why would I do that? But over time, I got into photography. And then as I got into photography, I slowly kind of branched more and more and more into videography to now where I feel like videography is like one of my hobbies. So, but yeah.
So one of the unspoken secrets most people have actually is, what system do you use to edit?
Adobe Premiere Pro is what
Premiere Pro is that what you're talking about?
Very, very high learning curve, though. I do not recommend it to people who haven't done it before.
It is. Hey, yes, absolutely.
I love that stuff, man.
I started off a while ago, a couple years ago, doing freestyle drone videos, and I had Premiere Pro, and man, I was barely able to do anything out there. Like I did not know how it worked at all. It took me 2 years to figure out how to use basic functions.
Oh, for real? Because I would say like I'm pretty decent at Photoshop and everything, but I know that's different because then you get into animations and everything with Premiere Pro, I'm sure. But man, I love all that stuff. Like I love all the editing that I do for the channel and for the commercials, and you know, it is a lot of work, but it's fun because that's another sort of creative process that you get to go along. Because you can have like, I mean, half the time when we're filming, just with those commercials you guys saw, like we're not really getting too much like great footage when we're doing it, but then the editing process, you get to kind of piece it together and stitch it, you know, how you want, add some elements of like music or voiceovers or whatever, and you know, kind of have fun with it. So
I mean, they all flow together. That's you know.
But I would love to learn that. That's the next program I got to learn. So I can.
Steven is better than he is at his editing, because sometimes I'm like, he could fix that later. And then I try to do it myself, and I'm like, I mumble, I like run on my sentences like over and over and over again, and I don't stop and take a break when I mess up. I don't say like, oh crap, I messed up. Okay, let me start over. I'm just like, oh, we went to the store today anyway, so it's just so fast. It's hard. So he does a good job, and I've started to think he can do anything.
Two things. I see Brandon in the chat says DaVinci is a superior program in his opinion, and it's way easier to do literally anything. DaVinci. But again, Premiere Pro has such a high learning curve. I do not recommend it to people. Like I like it. I probably wouldn't change to something else. If somebody's getting into video editing, that is not the software to use.
See, I'm just using my phone for the thumbnails and the videos and everything. I'm just using basic programs, and like I'm getting sometimes it's it's pretty decent for just a basic program, but I get frustrated because I know there's so many different things that I want to do. Like I have a vision of what I want to happen, but sometimes you're just limited by your technology or
where it's like Premiere Pro is harder to use, but the sky is the limit. You know, like you can do so much more on there. Like all of our editing programs, both of ours are junk in comparison, honestly. Like we're so limited on everything we do, and it's like
also because I saw Reggie jumped in here, Reggie and Jana. I know we had said hi to Jana earlier, but some 15 minutes of Lames people in here.
Yes,
awesome people.
Yeah.
So and Beast's
I feel
in
like
here.
you're getting a little too close to the camera. That's making your head look weird.
Oh no, I'm getting distorted by.
Uh-oh.
No, it's all good. It's all good. But so I really like the video editing. I like the videography aspect of the hobby in general. But it was not immediate. It took years for me to get to the point that I even enjoyed it.
He couldn't record a YouTube video. I couldn't be in the house when he recorded, and his face would turn bright red, and it would take him like 2 hours to record a 20-minute video. And it was horrible.
Because I think that a lot of people don't realize before they start doing like being in front of the camera, it is a different skill to speaking to a camera than it is to speaking to an individual. And you can be 100%. A good public speaker, and it's really weird with a camera because you don't have an audience that's giving you the body language. And if you do have an audience that's giving you the body language, you start paying attention to them and not the camera. And if they're not giving you the body language, it's like, oh no, what am I doing? Like, what am I doing wrong? They're not paying attention to me.
Yeah, absolutely. And okay, so Tamara has the exact same story. Like, as far as like her coming in, it took me 2 hours to make 20-minute video. It ended up being like 5 minutes in the end, but it did take me 2 hours. And please, can I get some silence in the house? So like at the beginning.
He would be recording in the living room, and I would like come downstairs to get a drink, and he'd be like, can you just stay upstairs so that you don't hear me talking? And I'm like
I was singing in
look,
I feel you. I did the exact same thing.
Even for the shows, like I'm like, not in a bad way necessarily, but I get stressed all day because I'm like just trying to make sure I have everything ready for it and make sure that I've got my mindset right.
Well, I like the shows way more.
Yeah, for sure.
Because you're talking to somebody.
Oh yeah.
When I'm just sitting there recording in the room by myself, I feel like just trying to make it, and I start stumbling over my words, and I'm like, no, my hair looks weird in this, and then I'm like trying to fix it, do another take. It takes me 30 takes, and then I realize at the end I never said what I wanted to. I'm like, oh man, gotta go back there.
The advice that I give to anybody who's wanting to start YouTube, whether it's for snakes or anything like that, is it's going to be really awkward at first. When you first start doing stuff, you're going to do things where you're like, oh, that's not what I wanted. I didn't make sense. I just rambled. But you have to practice like making the videos. You have to sit down, actually record the videos, practice over and over and over again until you finally just get comfortable with it.
I'll do. I haven't made like a content video in a while. I'm sorry, everybody who's watching, but when I do, man, I get like so OCD, or I'll like have a bunch of different takes. Sometimes I'll nail it right away, you know what I mean? But like, I feel like the reason why I'm not posting a lot of content videos is because I get so analytical, like too analytical, where it's like everything's got to be right. If I say something wrong, or I'm like and it's like in a weird spot and I can't take it out, I'm like, oh man, dude, I see all of my mistakes, and you know what I mean. So doing a live show like this for me is much easier because there's not so much pressure to make sure every word is perfect. And
I think a lot of people do lives instead of content videos because they don't have to worry about editing. Like I know a lot of people.
I like that about it. But it's also fun to be able to stitch together commercials, and where you are still like editing and preparing for it, but it's just a little different.
I had heard a comedian talking about why comedians do podcasts and do them really well. They're like, it's not that we couldn't do a show, we're just lazy. So we'll do a live stream instead. And it's like, who cares if it doesn't get edited out, I like that look of it. I'm like, way less work.
One thing that I would say, and I don't know how much you guys want to talk about, like specifically YouTube or anything
Yeah,
like
if you
that.
had.
Yeah, if you have other questions,
Whatever.
just be like, oh no, we got other stuff. So, when we first started doing the YouTube, so YouTube versus Instagram, Instagram has, for at least us, significantly greater reach. We are able to get our Instagram content into a far greater number of people than YouTube. But on YouTube, the people who do watch get way more invested in you, and that they like aren't just seeing like a picture fly by that they double tap and like. They're actually like sitting down and watching it for like 20 minutes or so. So they get to like get this like feeling of like, I know you. And one of our reasons for it was that part of marketing isn't just about getting your logo in front of as many people as possible. A huge aspect of marketing that I think a lot of people forget is getting people to recognize your logo, which is that awareness phase, but then also think a specific idea about your logo, whatever that idea is that you want to get. And part of ours that we wanted to do is we wanted to establish ourselves as like really professional, really high quality. So the idea was like, if our pictures are really good, if our video production is really good, if we're working with cool animals, people are going to assume that our everything about us is really high quality.
Absolutely.
Which it is.
Yeah.
So that's part of like why I really like the like we don't do like our own like live or our own podcast, mainly because we can't commit to a single day.
Yeah.
But the second one is
It's
that
tough to hold that commitment. I'm not gonna lie.
Oh my gosh, I can't even make like a point. Like, yeah, it's so hard.
yeah, it is.
It really is.
We like being.
But how often are you guys posting every morning or every day, or like, I mean, at least doing like a reel or short, or like what's your strategy throughout the week?
It is all over the place right now. So, we got some good content by going to Canova today. That was pretty cool.
Yeah.
But I feel like we haven't, we had the Tinley.
Oh, the Tinley stuff was fun.
We had the going to New York. We have like going to Canova now. So we've had these little like rushes of like good content. We've bought more animals and stuff, but it has been kind of hard without like new hatchlings, stuff like that. And we're just so busy in our personal lives that it's been really hard to come up with content that like holds people's attention and like makes them remember us, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
We post every day on Instagram. At least
once a week on YouTube.
Yep, once a week on YouTube. We have a TikTok, but I don't know the last time you posted on it.
I posted recently, but it's a lot easier during hatchling season because I can post babies coming out.
Oh yeah,
absolutely.
And everyone loves babies,
Yeah, I mean, one thing nobody told me whenever I was getting started was how boring ball python breeding can be. I mean,
a lot of waiting.
Patience.
Yeah,
lots
that's
of
what
waiting.
people say is when you're paying for time is
yeah.
So we've got a couple, like we've got some good stuff that we can hopefully put into like a YouTube video for, like Steven already has this week's video done, but maybe next week we'll be posting about our trip out to Gainesville today.
Okay.
And I don't know that we're doing another ball python trip for a while.
Yeah, I know.
We've got a bunch of work conferences coming up.
Yeah. So
okay, so would you guys like to implement more of just basic traveling like throughout your lives, because you do,
No,
you're saying how they
so much. How many states have we been in this year alone? We're going to Nevada next week, or in a couple weeks. We've got so many planned. We're going to Alabama later this year. I used to travel twice a month for work, and that was a lot.
Oh wow.
But
that is a lot.
we, this year alone, we've already been up to you've been up to Kentucky, we went up to Tinley, we went up to New York. And we drive for a lot of that. So
yeah. Heck yeah.
And then like we're going.
I like driving the cross country. It's nice.
Illinois later this year, Asheville later this year, Charlotte next weekend. We do a lot. It's can't say no is what it is.
Yeah. But I mean, it is interesting at how these people you get to know the people on YouTube, right? So I mean,
so cool.
It is like I would be interested to see your guys' traveling and stuff, even if it has nothing to do with reptiles at all. Would you guys be wanting to start a second channel or something?
That is cool.
That's
That is
actually
cool.
a really
Yeah.
interesting idea, like posting more about how often, like where we go and what we do. Because I mean, this isn't super related, but like I took my daughter to I took both kids to like a place recently. It was me and the kids, and somebody saw my shirt and was like, "Hey, I know you." I went to
No way, really?
I went to a local reptile show, and you gave my kid a sticker, and you talked to us about snakes, and we bought a snake, and so like that was pretty cool. And when I was in Portland last year, 2 years ago, saw someone with who was it?
I wasn't with you in Portland. So.
It was Washington Evergreen Reptiles. He had an Evergreen Reptile shirt on.
Okay.
I know who that is, and he's like, "Oh, that's my friend," and that was really cool. So meeting people all over the country, it's really interesting.
It is. Yeah, you would be surprised. I have a story about when I went to visit my sister in Ohio. We were at it was like an Evo, or it's like a family fun place, and we went in, and I was wearing my Heads and Tails shirt, and he's like, "Hey, I know them," and I was like, "Oh, Heads and Tails," and he's like, "Yeah, did you buy something from them?" And I'm like, "Nah, I'm Heads and Tails," He's like, "Oh man, I didn't even know." Like,
that is pretty crazy.
I was like, "Oh, dude, this is weird." Like, because I've never even sold this snake, dude. Like, I'm like, weird. I don't know. It was cool though, very cool.
That's kind of what it's.
He already followed me, man.
Well, the guy that you're.
Yeah, he was already subbed.
Oh wow, yeah, that's really crazy.
That's weird.
It'd be cool to be able to walk around in public and people like recognize your logo and your brands, and even if they're not snake people, especially if they're not snake people, that's even more fascinating.
It's like, how you know me, man?
Oh, can I tell one more story? So
absolutely.
Right after one of the shows that we did in Grovetown, maybe like 2 or 3 days later, I went to like a mini Comic-Con thing, and there's a gentleman there who what he does is he barters. Like that's his shtick. That's what he does. He goes and he puts a blanket out with all the things that people have given him, and you have to trade things for the things on his blanket. And I was like, oh, you know what? I'm gonna grab one of my like Leviathan snake stickers and trade it for like a something worthless, just something like a cool holographic. But before I put it down, there was already one of our stickers on the blanket, and I asked him, I was like, "Hey, can you tell me who traded that to you?" And he said, "Yeah, it was a little girl who traded it to me, and she asked me if I could give her a real snake for the sticker because she had gone and seen a bunch of snakes the day before, and
wow,
about snakes now." And I was like, I was the people who she went and saw.
Yeah, it's influence. That's awesome. That's awesome.
It was really cool.
Heck yeah.
So up next, guys, we're gonna get into our passive gas segment, and then we'll get into the tail end of the show really quick. So let's see if I can pull this up here. Hopefully I don't mess it up. So this is called passive gas. Now the part of this segment is I'm going to show you guys a bunch of items. They're mostly random. I've got a lot of food and different weird snacks this time. You say whether it's whether you pass on it, like nope, no go, or gas, whether you like it or not. So let's see what we have got coming up. First up, we have grass soda.
Yes.
I don't know how they make it. It's grass soda.
Straight pass.
I'm gonna buy that today.
Yeah. All right. Well, this is I can't even read. Oh yeah, Skittles cotton candy.
Pass.
So it's cotton candy that tastes like Skittles?
No.
I'm assuming
that had to be
pass.
Pass, like I don't know.
If it was Skittles that tasted like cotton candy.
Oh wait, it's cotton candy.
That's what it is. I think it is. Oh no, no.
Or is it cotton candy Skittles?
I think
it is cotton. It's cotton candy that tastes like Skittles.
Yeah, it's cotton candy that tastes like Skittles.
All right, this is Lay's. Oh man, I can't even read this thing.
Yeah, that sounds pretty good.
Wagyu beef Lay's.
Yes.
Sweet. Oh yeah. Now this is Little Nitro. It's like an atomic sort of gummy bear.
Pass. Pass.
I'm putting the grass soda in my cart, by the way.
All right.
Heck yeah, that's awesome.
This is The Last Dab. If you guys have ever watched The Last Dab on YouTube,
Hot
you
ones.
guys. Oh yeah, Hot Ones. Hot Ones is a game. Yeah, Hot Ones. My bad. But The Last Dab is what they put on their last
Pass.
chip.
Pass. I can't handle
Pass.
it.
I like it when it adds flavor, not when it adds pain.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I feel you. We
Pass.
have
Pass.
Pepsi, peep flavored
It
Pepsi.
gave me heartburn.
Yeah, that sounds so nice.
You've drinking it?
Yeah, I drank it. I always buy the weird Pepsis. I bought
Peepsies.
Peepsy. Oh yeah, we call it Peepsy. The problem with that Peepsy is that we could only find it in the 12-pack, and I had to buy a 12-pack, and what a waste.
Oh man.
And then you got 11 wasted cans.
So I had to drink them all. I don't waste things.
She had bought a 12-pack of Flaming Hot Mountain Dew as a joke. And our friend who was like, we all try it, and it's all literally.
It tastes like heartburn.
Oh, it tastes terrible. It tastes like
I didn't try that one. I didn't try that one.
And we all like taste it. We're like, oh, that's disgusting. At the end of the night, we're all like getting up our cans that everybody's taking like one drink out of, and we come to our one friend, we pick it up, and it's empty. And it's like, did you drink this whole thing?
I didn't think it was that bad. I don't know why you guys were all complaining about it. It's like,
Yeah, Flaming Hot Mountain Dew is gross. And if you like it,
Yeah.
pass.
All right. Well, so there's 3 flavors on here. We have kettle cooked everything bagel, crispy taco chips, and wavy fried green tomato.
I want every
I'll
single
say
one
gas.
of those. I want those. Are those real things?
Yeah, I think they're real.
Heck yeah. I'm going to add that to my cart too.
Yeah. All right.
We're building our shopping list.
So this one is just Hawaiian pizza. I think a lot of people either hate it or they love it.
Pass.
Pass. I don't like pizza.
I like savory pizza, not sweet pizza.
All right. Now this is deceiving. It is Hidden Valley Ranch flavored ice cream, or I'm assuming, or
Pass.
I don't know.
Yes.
Pass.
I will be eating that.
No.
I would put that
No
on my
way.
carrots. No. Think of how good that would taste on a vegetable.
Pass.
I'm not
I
gonna
don't
put it
know.
with a spoon. I'm gonna put it on some broccoli.
That's so funny.
All right. All
just
right.
cold ranch.
All right.
Yeah.
That's a little
Oh,
good.
yeah.
makes sense.
Buttermilk in it. It's
All right.
just frozen. No, yeah,
Gas.
Animal cracker.
Animal crackers, like
pass. I'm not a big
So this is weird. This is a macaroni and cheese gummy. A macaroni and cheese flavored gummy.
absolutely not.
no pass. What did you?
Yeah.
Did you Google disgusting food?
Yeah, like
I'm trying to find.
No,
some
John's
stuff.
showing us what's in his pantry.
Oh, God. No, I would never try this. I'm passing on this one. This sounds so gross. I don't even like Kraft macaroni and cheese. It's like so
Velveeta all the way.
artificial and so man. All right. So this is like a Nerf gun thing.
I guess.
I don't know. You guys into Nerf
What
guns?
do I do with that?
Shoot Wyatt.
No, it's too stationary. That boy's too fast.
Yeah.
All right. Let's see what we got next. Some Charizard shoes. Some
I
Pokemon
wouldn't
shoes.
wear them,
Yes,
but
you
gas. They're cool. I wouldn't wear them, but
I
yeah,
would
they're
wear
pretty
them.
cool.
But you would buy them maybe. Is that what you're saying?
I probably wouldn't buy them, but they're.
Oh,
I don't
okay.
Judge
But
somebody.
he'd let me wear them. He'd buy them for me.
Yeah. All
I
right.
don't wear anything.
What do we got? Oh, this is for your baby. My first
She
Freddy
doesn't
pan.
do- She's more tan
Our
than
baby
Steven.
was born
That's
with more
hilarious.
melanin in her skin than I do, and she literally had never been in oxygen before. Like,
Yeah.
she was fluorescent lights and had a deeper tan.
That's so funny. Yeah, these are little gag baby gifts. It's funny. So I got one more
I bet
called My First
Yes.
Fire.
that's is the fire real? That's so funny. 8 ounce.
No,
Yeah,
this is a
so
gag
I
gift.
think-
This kid is like super stoked about the
He's
gas
got a
gas
gas
kid.
That
Yeah. I'm just messing with you. 007 GoldenEye.
Gas. I mean, I played it when I was a kid.
Yeah,
Okay.
mine always glitched out.
Oh man, I love that game so much. So much.
I blew out my cheeks trying to keep all my Nintendo games running.
Man, dude, I love Nintendo. All right. What? Oh, paintballing. So I just got a picture of paintball.
Steven, show them all your paintball gear.
I do have a bunch of paintball gear.
Pass.
Gas. The thing on paintball is, it's hard to find like people to actually play with,
And there's
like,
nowhere around here to play. Well, okay.
Yeah.
Steven under the bus. Steven went and played paintball, and the next day he was so sore.
I was so sore.
That he hasn't
Oh,
gone
yeah.
because he's too
I was so
old.
sore. I got my
Hey, if
butt.
y'all ever come out here, hit us up. We'll play some paintball for sure. For sure.
And you guys are right?
Super fun.
I had Tamara and Rain out there. Rain's only 8 years old. She was out there shooting at the trees. She wasn't shooting at anybody. I didn't realize it until like the third game, and I was like, "What are you shooting at?"
Our 7-year-old is like, "You shot me. No, I'm not playing anymore." So no.
Oh, yeah.
They give us like these vests and stuff to wear, whenever it's like beginners.
I'm talking about with a Nerf dart. There's no way.
You're like, no, it don't matter. You don't want to get shot at all.
All right. So we got a couple more. We'll kind of wind it down. We have Bernstein Bears.
Gas.
Yes, yeah. Do you guys remember it's Bernstein or Bernstein? Are you guys into that conspiracy stuff?
I don't remember them from a child. I've seen other people talk about them with the whole Mandela effect thing, but I don't remember.
Yeah, that's kind of weird.
With an E.
Yeah.
Check.
Let's see what we got. So we have. I don't know if you guys remember these growing up. Bill Silverstein.
Yes.
That was my first.
Yeah, these are super good.
In 7th grade, I think everybody had to recite a poem, as a thing, and I was like, so we can recite any poem, and they're like, yeah, any poem. You pick the poem. I'm like, so there's no rules on the poem, and they're like, yeah, there's no rules. And I did. I'm being eaten by a boa constrictor by Shel Silverstein. And
I did too.
And the teacher's like, there's one rule.
Yes.
So
it's like I'm being eaten by a boa constrictor, a boa constrictor, a boa constrictor. I'm being eaten by a boa constrictor, and I don't like it one bit. Oh no, it's nibbling my toe. Oh gee, it's up my knee. Oh fiddle, it's up my middle. Oh heck, it's up my neck.
It's up to my thigh.
Oh yeah, oh my, it's up my thigh. Yeah.
Heck, it's
I love that
neck.
stuff growing up.
Oh dread, it's eating my head. Yeah, I sing that to Wyatt.
Yes.
Sometimes.
All right, hopefully you guys like this one. If you don't, I don't know. Lord of the Rings. It's like
So,
just
all right, let me
the Bible. Sorry.
All right, so Lord of the Rings. I'm gonna throw out a hot take here. All right, I like Lord of the Rings. Lord of the Rings is the grandfather of the fantasy genre, and the fantasy genre is my favorite book genre. The Hobbit, awesome, love the Hobbit. Lord of the Rings was written in a different time, and the pacing is so slow that I have never been able to actually finish the trilogy. I have read the Fellowship. But I always get stuck in the Two Towers because it's like a fictional encyclopedia or a fictional history book. I'm just like, give me a plot, man.
I love science fiction. I love fantasy. I have not read The Hobbit or Lord of the Rings, and I've not seen the Lord of the Rings movies.
I have seen them.
Well, okay, so are you guys I'm curious, are you guys Harry Potter fans or anything then?
I've read all the Harry Potter books. I've seen the movies. I
never got into Harry Potter, to be honest. I was always a Lord of the Rings person. But...
Brandon Sanderson is I don't know if you read fantasy at all, but Brandon Sanderson is he's probably the most popular modern fantasy writer. And you might not know him because he hasn't had movies come out of his books yet, but he got the most funded Kickstarter in history last year because during COVID, he had a book that was getting ready to come out. And he writes 3 books a year, and he made this thing. It's this announcement's being hey, COVID's been really hard on us, and we have an announcement to make. Everybody thinking that he's going to say, hey, this book's going to be delayed. And he came out, and in the YouTube video that he was talking about what happened during COVID and everything, and about how it's been really hard, he had surprise written 4 different novels and crowdsourced their funding to get them published on Kickstarter, and it got $40-some million. It was really cool. He's an awesome. I really, really like Brandon. Oh, Neil
Gaiman. I just finished. Which one did I just finish?
Neverwhere.
I just finished Neverwhere by Neil Gaiman, and I recently read Going Postal by Neil Gaiman.
That's
The other one,
Going Postal is Pratchett.
Jerry Pratchett.
Yeah.
See, I get the two of them mixed up.
American Gods.
American Gods by Neil Gaiman. Okay, I was going to say, but I did not like American Gods. I got bored with American Gods. I couldn't finish it. And I like a lot of books. I like N.K. Jemisin, very phenomenal author, N.K. Jemisin, and I like a lot of science fiction. So like James A. Corey, The Expanse.
That's where our name comes from.
Leviathan Wakes.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, so okay, so that's a perfect point to talk about that. Can you guys just give us a little refresher on that for anybody that might not know? Because I don't know that I'm not familiar with all the books and everything, but it is really interesting.
One of my favorite series is James S.A. Corey's The Expanse series, and it's a science fiction book. There's 9 books in the series, and they just came out with the final book is Leviathan Falls. They just came out with that book maybe last year or the year before. Phenomenal series. I recommend it to absolutely anyone. There is an Amazon Prime series show that is like a rendition of the books. It's not very similar. So if you don't like the show, you can still give the books a try because it's very loosely based on it. It's like they have the same names. That's pretty much it.
Gotcha.
But so when we were coming up with our name, I wanted it to be somewhat science fiction. And I actually had a friend who's like, "Oh, you like Leviathan Wakes? What about Leviathan Snakes?" And I was like, "That's perfect." And that's it. That's the entire thought process behind it. But so Leviathan Wakes is the first book in the series.
No, that's really cool.
I love it when it's a play on words. Anytime it goes right like that, it's awesome. Like for me, I was thinking about snake genes and how you can flip a coin, and it could be one or the other. And I was like, heads and tails, hats and tails. Yes,
Genius.
I don't know, it hit me. It was good.
Like
that idea.
And then Bold Coast, they said they enjoyed. It looks like they liked Neverwhere. Neverwhere. I think they're coming out with a sequel. I think Neil Gaiman is writing a sequel to Neverwhere, which the book is what 20 years old.
It's Neverwhere is his debut novel.
It is an old book, but they're coming out with I think as part 2, and I think it follows the Marquis. Maybe I don't remember.
Okay.
Anyway.
So, are you both avid readers and everything? Like, you guys both into reading books and sci-fi and everything all together?
Tell how excited we got when it changed over to books.
No, you guys. Even on your Instagram, was to say you guys are passionate about books.
Yeah, I think it says
reading or something.
They can read books.
Yeah.
So when we first started, especially because we named it after, we thought that we would have a lot of like the background being the bookcase. A lot of like the book covers as the background. I thought we'd do a lot more science fiction-y stuff, and that kind of fell away because it was hard to always keep that theme. But we both read a lot. I'd say
I'm reading Tiamat's Wrath right now.
Yeah, so I just finished Between Two Fires. We listen to Audible a great deal. That way we can both of us listen when we're driving. Like we said, we drive so much.
When we're
working, when we're at the gym, when we're cleaning snakes, when we're around the house, we'll listen to the book. If we can sit down and read a physical copy, it's usually
a new release came out, and we're like, all right, we're taking off work for a day so that way we can.
That has happened. We have taken days off work so that we can read a new book.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my god,
that's cool.
That is crazy.
That is really cool. So I love audiobooks way more than just reading a book, though. I can't stay focused, and that way I can still be doing other stuff.
I used to read. I can clean snakes. I can do anything while I'm listening.
Right. Right.
I used to read so much. When I was a kid, all through elementary school and even part of junior high, I would just read. I would literally just be at the library all day with my mom, checking out 5-6 books a week, just reading all the time. And then I think I probably hit high school or maybe junior high, and I just stopped reading. But man, I used to read so much. But let me ask you guys this: if of all the books you guys have ever read, what would be that one book that you would want to put into a movie? You would want to make a movie that doesn't already have a movie,
so movie or any kind of
visual adaptation.
So I think
or visual adaptation, movie, show, whatever. What would you like to see?
Yeah.
I think we actually probably have the same answer for that one.
What are you gonna say?
I mean, do I get to make the show? Like, do I get to choose what goes into it? Because, like I
sure, why
said,
not?
I love the Expanse book series. I did not enjoy the show because they just didn't do it the same way. And that's not because, like The Magicians. Did you see that show?
Oh man, I know a show. I haven't seen all. I think I saw like one or two episodes.
By Lev Grossman.
Lev
way better than the book. The show is
really
sucks. At least the first season of the show is good. But I think, would you say the Brandon Sanderson's
if it was like we snap our fingers and there's a visual adaptation exactly like how I would want it, and it would be like a TV series, it would be Brandon Sanderson's The Stormlight Archive.
Yeah, probably. Maybe
yeah. The other one, another book. All right, what
maybe
genre?
the Broken Earth trilogy would be cool. I just there's I think the Broken Earth.
John, what genre of books did you really like when you were reading books?
I do like sci-fi, and fantasy sort of things.
Okay.
Like a lot of sci-fi and fantasy. Yeah.
I'm gonna recommend this to you, but I'm gonna have a caveat on it. I read books a bunch in like junior high and middle school, or junior high and high school. And then I got out of high school and I joined the military, and it probably went for about a year that I didn't read books. And I got back into reading books when I read Patrick Rothfuss's The Name of the Wind, and it got me back, and I'm like, that's amazing. Like, it is a beautiful, amazing book. But I will say this, it is a trilogy. There are 2 books out, and it's been over a decade since the last book came out. There is not a lot of hope that it's going to be finished anytime soon. And the author himself is kind of a dick. But the books are absolutely amazing. So even with all of that stuff, the fact that I'm recommending it, I feel like shows how good those books are, even though it's probably not going to get an ending. And the author's not very nice. And
I'm looking at all these different baby's first prank items. They're hilarious. Thank you, John.
They are pretty. Yeah, I saw those. Like, oh my goodness.
Baby's first gambling set.
I did have that on there. I had to skip over a couple of them. I don't want it to be too repetitive, but yeah, baby's first gambling. I was like, that's pretty funny.
That's crazy.
They're all edgy. You know what I mean? It's pretty funny.
All right, I have a question for you guys. So, John, you were in Colorado, and then you're in Texas now, right?
Yes.
Okay, and you guys are doing, what's up?
I'm using it.
Oh, okay. And you guys are doing the show now. Are you guys combining breeding businesses, or is it just the show?
No, it's just the show.
Okay.
It's just the show. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But it is cool to be able to be out here to be able to bounce ideas off each other, to be able to do a show together. Because we want to be able to find ways to help promote each other's channels and grow, whatever we can contribute. So it's nice because 2 heads is better than 1, right? You know what I mean? So
and we help each other out and stuff. And if he needs a snake or something, and I have one, I'll give him the hookup or whatever on it. But yeah, as far as sharing stuff, no.
Okay. So what are you guys, because I know, again, we've talked a little bit, John, you had mentioned earlier about the idea of Investment Isaac and the personas that we did in our YouTube video last week. Where are you guys following in that kind of area? What do you guys want to target?
It's honestly pretty open. I mean, if you want to start looking at, the problem is when you choose a path, you got to choose that path. And without us knowing really where it's going to go, our idea with the show and then our idea with the business kind of don't actually go together. There's side businesses with the show thing. I don't know. It's difficult because for example, he wants to do the League of Breeders thing, which is cool. It's basically a best in show type of thing where you get trophies or medals or prizes, money, whatever for being the best in show. I want to do the snake races. We both want to do a show to where it's more like a late night TV show, Conan O'Brien or Jay Leno, something like that, kind of structuring it more that setup. And then obviously, you know, just trying to get our names out there, getting people to know us so that when, like for me, because I've never produced a clutch, whenever I produce a clutch, I don't want it to be like, oh, who's this random guy? You know, at least people know who I am. You've seen my whole process from start to finish of when I decided like, oh, I'm going to start buying snakes. I started filming like that day. You know, I was like, all right, let's do it. So I don't know. There's a lot of ways to go there.
So do you guys view the show, like, so you had said that's like kind of separate from the like business. Is it the show is like kind of a media kind of form that is its own thing and it's not necessarily marketing towards your businesses or your snake businesses?
I think okay, so let me answer that. So I think it helps both. But I think that Shane and I want to, like, I guess as far as like hobbies and things go, reptiles is like a very specific hobby. And you know, honestly, I love reptiles. I love animals, like with, you know, like with everything, you know what I mean? But just coming together, we feel like there might be more that we can really accomplish and diversify our portfolios as far as like,
Right.
maybe we can, you know, talk to people outside of what we even know. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, someone maybe who's never held reptiles, you know, maybe talk to them, and I don't know. I mean, it's
Like
we're
eventually,
kind of,
instead of it being a reptile show, we're reptile guys that have a show. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I mean, that's kind of the direction we're going with that. Now our breeding and everything, we're still, you know, doing that hard on other things, you know. But as far as this show specifically, we're kind of leaning towards just trying to
I'll say this too.
expand out.
I'll say
you know?
this on the tail end of that is like, what we realize is like when, like for example, with you and Courtney coming onto our show, we want you guys to feel like you guys are not being asked the same, you know, 20 questions every time you go on someone's show. You know what I mean? We want to be able to have like conversations where we get to know you and your life. Like it's interesting hearing about, you know, the books and all the, your interests and passions and all the filming, the like behind the scenes stuff. Like it's just really interesting. So, you know, we want to be able to talk to people that have knowledge and insight from all sorts of like, you know, paths in life, you know, I guess.
Oh yeah, no, 100%. And no, I was just kind of like asking. I was just curious on it, on like how it like worked for both of you guys, because if like the businesses weren't together, but you guys are doing the show together, on it, like,
right?
Yeah.
I mean,
for us, a lot. 99% of what we do on social media, like part of it is like I personally enjoy videography. I like photography. Like I think that stuff is fun, but the amount of work that we put into it, we're doing it realistically is to help market Leviathan snakes.
Right.
And not in a way, whenever I say market, I don't mean like, when people think of marketing, they think of like advertisements where it's like, hey, buy my snake, buy my thing.
Right.
That's not what we mean. When we say that, when we say marketing, we don't mean an advertisement to get somebody to buy something. Instead, it is about how we are putting our brand out in front of hopefully our target audience, how often we're doing it, what that is, the reputation that hopefully we are cultivating with our brand within our target audience, and trying to build all of that stuff with the specific idea of, for us, when it comes to the animals or the ball python hobby, the animals are the main part for us, and social media is a tool for us to help explore.
Right. I'll say this too, is like, I think that's exactly what I want. And like, you know, for my channel and everything, like, pretty much, you know, all the animals, ball pythons and everything. But I think I guess as far as like Shane and I coming together to do a show, I think it's about, like I put in my intro and everything, and as part of my branding is evolve together. And so I want to put myself in situations that are challenging. You know what I mean? I want to be able to learn new skills, you know, learn you know, different aspects of people's lives, learn how to communicate better with people. And so yeah, I think the social media and everything really helps, my ball pythons and everything like that. But you know, maybe I don't know. Like I want more than just that. You know.
Yeah. See, I've noticed. I was kind of sticking to like, yeah, where it's just like I keep it like kind of more business
Or just being
oriented.
you know, everyone's different. We all have our interests, and
the longer I do it, the more I'm just like, well, I don't have stuff to talk about with the business.
That is the hardest. That is the hardest part.
And I do still want to produce something, and you're still selling yourself because you're still, being you and gaining people from that.
Yeah.
So I mean, as long as I'm not acting a fool on live, I feel like I'm okay. But if I start acting all crazy, then maybe.
So that's the hardest part. That's the hardest part, Steven, is like we're so new to this that we're not making 10, 20 clutches a year.
Right.
And so like me, I don't have anything on eggs. I probably don't even have anything gravid right now. So I want to be able to have the show to keep kind of keep that momentum going and everything without having clutches on the ground, all the time.
One thing, and this kind of comes, and not that you guys are like asking for like advice, and it wouldn't be really for this show. This would be more for like if you're doing other YouTube content and all that stuff. One of the reasons why I think that personas are really useful is that if you can identify like your target market, if you're like, all right, based off of the amount of money that I can invest right now, let's say that you can invest $2,500 total, and it's like that's it, that's all of the money that I can do, and it's based off of $2,500. Realistically, and this is just my opinion, you are, at least when you first start, when you're first buying those animals for $2,500, you are not going to be able to sell to like high-end businesses because you just don't have the capital.
Right.
You might be able to sell to some breeders, but it's probably going to be entry-level breeders based off of what you make and depending on exactly what you buy. But you can probably do really well selling to pet keepers. So if I had like $2,500 right now, and I was like, all right, I need to just start a ball python business. What I would probably do is I would probably focus on animals that I think will sell really well to pet owners, like bells, bananas, pieds, things like that. And then I would structure the business on social media around those animals and around pet keepers. So I'd be like, all right, what are questions that somebody might have when they're wanting to buy their first pet ball python? And then I'm going to make content that answers those questions. Like, how should you set up an enclosure? How can you set up an enclosure for under $50? How can you set up an enclosure for $200? What's the best enclosure I could possibly do? How to deal with stuck shed? How to deal with the ball python that doesn't eat? And look at all of the questions that a pet owner might have when they first get a snake and make content about them. And then also show off the beautiful bells that you bought or the beautiful pieds. So that way, when you have clutches that are specifically targeted to serve the pet owner, you have already made a bunch of content that targets the pet owner, so that way when you get somebody doing a bunch of research, they know you, they like you, and they're like, oh, and you have a pied and it looks amazing, I'm gonna buy it.
It's like the
absolutely.
Like Chris Hardwick just put out.
I was just thinking that.
I don't even think he's posted a video in 6 months, but he put out as many, and people, that's when everybody knows his name. It doesn't matter what kind of everybody knows his name.
Yep. It was
absolutely.
As everybody was getting in and they're like wanting to breed, and they look up like, all right, what is an inchy ball python? And you type it in, Chris Hardwick's the first video that comes up.
100%.
Yeah, that's how it was for me, and so many people.
I studied him for so long, and then like once I started really getting into it, and I was like buying all these snakes, I was like, oh man, I'm gonna go and get one from Chris Hardwick. This dude got me into it. Let me go look. And I was like, oh dang, he don't really have like the combos I thought he would have. And it's because he's, selling to beginners.
He really
have to like upgrade his collection much.
Well, the way he set it up. My bad.
He's making videos for new breeders because those are the animals that he's selling.
Yeah, absolutely. And he's setting it up through his channel where you type in Enchi, you type in clown, you type in butter, leopard, whatever. You're getting all these individual videos, from of genes that he took off a morph market, and you're seeing the different combos. And so he makes it for the beginner. So I guess when the beginner wants to start, they can buy from him anyways, which is the whole social media thing in the first place.
Which actually brings me up to the next thought there of us getting different people instead of you know, always having like reptile people on. If we were to get comedians or something like that, maybe somebody that follows a comedian, we can end up getting into snakes, and then they're, you know, like that's kind of like a way to build your customer basis as well.
Let me ask you this, Steven. So do you think it's risky to divert a little bit from the reptiles? Not saying that we're abandoning it, but to divert and diversify. And do you think that's bad, or do you?
So the thing, let me say this. On the surface, no, it's not necessarily bad. But what I think ends up happening on the internet is if I want to look up content about ball pythons, I am going to be able to find a bunch of different ball python breeders that are amazing at that ball python content. If I want to look up content about photography, and I'm specifically like, I want to learn something about photography, I'm not going to a ball python breeder for the photography advice, even though there are ball python breeders who are way better photographers than I am. I'm going to a photography channel and I'm watching like photography stuff.
Right.
You have to like niche down on the internet until you find it's called the smallest viable market. Is if you get too diversified, what ends up happening is that people, when they find you online, they're like, okay, you're talking about photography, but you're a ball python guy and you only have one video on photography. I don't really view you as an expert on photography. And then that content doesn't do well for your reptile people because they don't care. And your photography.
Well, I think one of the things there though that you're kind of missing on it though is that we're not doing this for content videos. This is a live stream where our content videos are specific to ball python. Like we don't really have much aside from the ball python stuff as far as our content, our shorts. They're almost all the same stuff. It's just like on our live stream is where we're trying to get the newbies. You know?
I guess he's going back to like, like he was saying, maybe, you know, starting like a travel channel. Would you do like a travel, kind of like along those lines where you're like, you got more stuff in your life too.
Yeah, you got more than just snakes, you know.
It depends. So the way that
it definitely waters you down a little bit. I get that.
So we'll go off YouTube really quick. So the way that YouTube's algorithm works is that part of it is your own content and how your content performs. And then the second part of it is your audience and what your audience looks like. So like, let's say that you have one video on your channel that is like a travel vlog and there's no reptiles in it at all. If we've built up our audience and most of our audience are reptile people and they see that it's a travel vlog and maybe it's our trip to Las Vegas about how we're just going on vacation or something like that.
Right.
Which that's not what we're doing. We're going there for a work conference and all that stuff. And they watch it and they're like, there's no reptiles in this. This isn't I didn't subscribe to this channel because I wanted to see a travel vlog. I subscribed to this channel because I wanted to see reptile content. What ends up happening is that they leave the video partway through. So then you lose your audience retention. And then eventually, if they see like, oh, here's another travel vlog video from them, I'm not even going to click on it because that's not content I want. So then that tells YouTube is that, hey, the audience who's following you, they're not clicking on your videos. And because they're not clicking on your videos, and when they do click on them, they leave. We're not going to push this out to new people because why would new people watch it when the people who already subscribe to them and already like them aren't watching it? So the problem is if you diversify your content too much on social media, you lose your audience. And then when you lose your audience, the algorithms don't know who your content should go to. So then they can't figure out which way. It's like, okay, this video is supposed to go to reptile people. This video is supposed to go to people who like travel vlogs. And this video is supposed to go to people who like photography. And they can't figure it out. So you need to like niche down. If you want to do different content.
Well, I mean, isn't that what the hashtags and stuff are for?
That doesn't work like that. Like that's not, it's your audience behavior is more important than like just having a hashtag. You have to like niche down. If you want to have, let's say a travel vlog, you need to have a channel for a travel vlog stuff. You need to have a channel for reptile stuff. That's what my advice is. If you are going to do a reptile show, like or you're going to do a reptile podcast on a channel with other reptile content and all the people who are coming are reptile stuff, you can see in your analytics in YouTube where it will say like, your followers watch these other channels. And if they're all reptile channels, your audience are reptile people. You should have reptile content on that channel. Like, I know
mine's got like, dude, mine doesn't even, whenever it's like those things like it says like different things they've watched,
Oh,
like the searches or whatever. It's like A, B, Z, Z, B. Like they're not even words,
Oh,
man.
yeah.
It's weird.
I
I
got
don't
a
know what
question
people
for
are
you.
searching these days.
I got a
against search
question for you,
bars.
Steven, about like the like hashtags and tags and things like that. I think I've heard you say before that there's a specific order that you should put your hashtags in, or it how does that work specifically?
Instagram actually has changed how hashtags work. So I'm going to look up some analytics right now. Essentially, hashtags have been crushed on Instagram. So right now, let me pull up all right. From a post that we did yesterday, it has gotten it has been shown to 1,370 people. From the 1,370, 1,115 of them came from just the home tab, just while they were scrolling and all that stuff.
Right. Okay.
There was 197 that came from the Explore page. Just if you tagged Explore, it was shown on there 197 times. 34 times this post was shown from people who went to our profile. 14 times it was shown from other. There was 0 from hashtags. The Instagram has changed the way that hashtags work. So that way, essentially the way that hashtags themselves, they used to be like a way that you could discover it, but it doesn't really work that way anymore, to the point where hashtags they're important to tell the algorithm, hey, this is the kind of like niche that my content should be in at first. But then it's based off the audience behavior if it actually works
This was
out.
from January.
Yeah, so you can put like no hashtags, and based on the audience's behavior, it'll push it maybe to certain people, and then their pages are like kind of
put a couple hashtags. I think it's reading your captions. So
Yes.
having the hashtags in there doesn't hurt.
In January, we had one that 8,122 people it reached, and of the 8,000 people it reached, 148 were from hashtags. Hashtags are not nearly as important as they used to be like a year ago.
Yeah,
Oh, okay, gotcha.
So they are.
No, I've been trying to. I hate trying to come up with hashtags.
I would advise like five to 7 or so. 3 to 7, I would say, just make them relevant to your niche. You don't want unrelated hashtags. You don't want to have like a post where it's a ball python and you have a hashtag like rise and grind. That doesn't do anything for it because it doesn't tell the algorithm who this content should go to. You want it to be like hashtag ball python, hashtag snakes, hashtag ball python morphs, hashtag snake breeder, stuff like that. Like, but
Hashtag beautiful, you know, like
honestly, it kind of sucks. Like,
yeah, we went from getting on average probably 800 likes per post to 200.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Like the way that they change hashtags makes it significantly harder to.
We almost never break 1,000 on a picture anymore.
Yeah.
Of likes.
Which sucks, but it is what it is. So. I see.
Wait 1 second. I'm gonna see if I can pull up.
Okay, I see. Hold on. I see questions in the chat. So,
all right, but I'm kind of feeling that because that's kind of why we're trying to expand out, is because there's so many people that are doing the same podcast over and over. You know, this breeder, that breeder. Oh, I got you. Whenever you come in, I'll bring you up. No, you're good.
So one thing
Hey, mute it though. Make sure you mute you.
I think I am.
Is that when it comes to developing content for social media, knowing what your goal is really important, because otherwise you're just going to put out content kind of willy-nilly and you don't know like why you're actually doing it or what the goal is. So if you want to get as many people to see your post as possible, and you want to just get more followers for just the sake of getting more followers, you're probably going to have a better time posting feeding videos than you are going to doing a live podcast. Now,
we've had that conversation.
It's unfortunate that like that's what hits, you know? I mean, when I look at all my shorts, the biggest short I've got, 32,000 views, feeding video.
So like, let's
I
think about like
made a bunch of other
why.
ones. I'll watch them.
The reason why that I think that those videos do, and not necessarily every single time, but do better, is that the vast majority of the population, the vast majority of people on social media have never been around a reptile before. So
Yeah.
when they see
Right.
a feeding video and they see the snake and they see the rodent, there's a sense of tension that is immediately put in, and that makes them watch. Like, is that snake going to eat that thing? And then
Yeah.
when it
Right.
happens, because they're sitting there and watching it happen. If you want view duration on reels and stuff like that to get like them to go like viral and stuff, is once it happens and the snake eats the rodent or something like that, there is like a fulfillment of a promise, which is the promise that was established at the beginning of the reel or short or whatever was. I'll talk about that in a second, Bold Coast. So like why I don't agree with the feeding videos. But so the promise at the beginning of the video is that, hey, that this animal is going to eat another one. And it's something that most people have never seen before. So it creates feelings of curiosity. It creates a feeling of tension as to like, oh, what's about to happen? And then when it happens, it fulfills the promise, and that they watch the video all the way through. So because of that, I feel like it appeals to the general public, but that general public are not necessarily people who want to buy a snake. And if your ultimate goal is to create content on social media to get more people into the hobby, that's probably not going to do it. What that's probably going to do is it's going to get put in front of enough people who are like, what's up? Like, these people are delighting in the fact that in order to keep the pet that they have, it has to kill another being. And it makes the hobby in a negative light. It makes it look like that we delight in animals dying. And that's, at least in all of our like people that I know, nobody like feels like that. Nobody wants to have.
Yeah, well, that's the thing, is not a single one of us like that.
Yeah.
Why they do so well? I mean, yeah, exactly.
People like it's the shock factor. It's the shock value that people provide. That's how a lot of
Look at like
every industry. If you can provide shock value, then that's what sells. You know,
right?
Yeah, I have people all the time. They're like, "You like snakes? Look at this video," and they'll show me Jay Brewer like poking a retic until it bites him, and I'm like, "Yeah, I've seen that."
Yeah. And see that, I feel like that's kind of way more bad for the hobby than just showing a feeding video. Like, what if you just show a feeding video, don't say nothing in it? You know, it's like, well, that's shit. That's just,
in my opinion,
video, you know?
When it comes to ball python striking, I think that the best people who I've ever seen is Gen Z reptiles. They had the best content when it showed ball python striking, because what Jace would do is that he would like hold his hand out to like kind of like fist bump the snake, and it would bite him, and it would essentially show like, oh, that was nothing. It was just a little tiny, it was literally nothing. There was nothing to be scared of. And I felt like that content was exactly the way that people should do it if they are going to.
I do think, though, that while I don't think that painted the hobby in a negative light, I do think it affected their engagement, because they would get
millions of views
on reels like that. But the majority of the people were more like, oh, that's so shocking. None of them were following because
they wanted to buy a snake.
And I think that
right.
100%.
I do no. Well, I don't know, man, because it depends on what I make in the feeding video whenever I do it. Because like if I'm talking about them, or like why I feed live, or why I breed my own rats, or whatever, you know, if I'm talking during them, I usually get a lot better comments out of it. If I just leave just the feeding video and not say anything, you get people that are like, "Ooh, good strike," you know, that like you seen it got behind the neck, it didn't get bit, no tongue help, all that good stuff. So you're like, cool.
I'll say this for me, like let's say it was day one, never, you know, maybe I'm going in to buy my first ball python or something, or maybe I don't even, you know, I'm not even interested in them yet. But if I see a feeding video, I don't know, I might not react to it as well as like finding out or discovering morphs for the first time. Because when I discovered morphs, man, that blew me away. Like, you know what I mean? I don't know. Maybe it's different for other people, but I'm not trying to watch feeding videos all the time. But if you show someone like the possibility of like what happens when you,
that's interesting. When I was 15, the feeding videos are what kind of, well, just feeding,
I mean,
knowing like,
everyone-
oh, you gotta feed your snake, you know, like I was 15, I was a teenager, so I was like, ooh, that's crazy, that's cool. As an adult, yeah, the colors, the morphs, the patterns, that's what got me.
Oh yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So like, because I got into ball pythons twice.
Yeah, more
When I was
sophisticated
young,
way
and
of looking
then
at it,
again
so.
as an adult. And as an adult, I looked at it the correct way, you know, but I was already familiar with the whole setup because I had already had them and, you know, stuff like that back when I was a teenager.
Yeah,
But I don't know, man.
I don't know.
I remember being a kid and being like, it's badass, you know?
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
Yeah,
we're men,
yeah.
you know, we're boys, and we just like want to see stuff like get eaten, I guess, you know.
yeah, it's messed up, but
I don't
it's true. Like when you're
Not
a
in a
kid, you're
morbid
kind of
way,
messed
not
up,
in a
you know?
not in a morbid way, but it's that fascination, that curiosity of like, oh, I've never seen this before, you know. Which I
Well,
think is most people, because most people are afraid of snakes. So.
Right, it's
I was
just
gonna
something
say, I think a
being.
lot of times when we have kids come over, that is something they want to see. Is they will say, "Can I see it eat a mouse?" And
Yeah.
I'm like, it depends how badly you want to see it. Like, are you
Right.
curious or are you like weird about it? Because
Right,
if you're
right.
just curious, I can feed a snake, but if you're gonna
Yeah.
ask me to feed another one right after, no, we're not doing that.
Right, right,
Yeah.
right.
But
And-
I
and
think that people use feeding videos to like cry cruelty. So I think that they can definitely be negative in that light. I think they attract
Yeah.
the wrong kind of person, and so we avoid them altogether. And
Yeah.
I don't really interact with them when I see them on social media.
Mhm.
And we've known people who have told us that their engagement was affected by posting feeding videos. Like the only way they could get likes and views is if they continued to post the feeding videos.
Yeah, it's
I
like
mean, unfortunately, it definitely makes it easier.
Some people have
You
their,
know?
Think about
almost
it,
their
like-
entire following off of feeding videos. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
I don't know. I
And
mean,
they got a lot of subscribers.
it's
So
so
realistically,
people got
let's-
crazy
Let's think about
subs.
this really quick. What is the getting a like on a picture is made up internet points. It doesn't mean anything.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
getting
it really is.
subscribers. If you are having a reptile business and your goal is to sell animals and you have a bunch of subscribers who are none of them actually want to buy a reptile from you, they don't mean anything. All right.
Yeah.
You can literally buy followers, like hundreds.
Okay,
of
I got a
thousands of
question though,
followers
real
that don't
quick.
mean anything. And that's the kind of thing is if your goal in it is to have a reptile business, feeding videos are not going to help you do it. They are going to probably damage you in the long run.
All right, now I got a question. So you know how it affects negatively? You get crying hearts that are, you know, or bleeding hearts that are talking about, oh, it's animal cruelty, it's this, it's that. Do you actually think that person was ever going to buy a snake anyways? No, because they can't handle watching one die.
Be able to feed them themselves.
It's possible that other people. So there is, we have a lot of people who are like, oh, can we like. I couldn't possibly feed live. Can I feed them frozen thawed? And we all the time are like, yes, you can feed frozen thawed. If you're not comfortable feeding like a rodent to a snake, here is an alternative reptile that you might be interested in that's like bugs and it can like start you off. We have a very good friend who has pet rats, and at first she couldn't like bear the idea of a snake because she has pet rats and she could not stand the idea of feeding rats to the snakes. So now they have 2 snakes and she's thinking about getting a 3rd. And I think if we had constantly been showing her us feeding rats to snakes, she would have never bought snakes because they would have just been the thing that killed the other thing.
Yeah.
I mean, but isn't the end result the same? She's still feeding rats to a snake that she didn't want to.
She's not.
I guess
She's
it's
feeding
a
frozen thawed mice
exploitation.
to her snakes. And mice are different in her opinion, the mice are different from the rats because they don't have the intelligence that the rats have. And so it is a different thing for her. It did not turn her off from it. And there's also, I don't want to see a king snake eat a ball python because I love ball pythons. It would make me sad to see a king snake eat a live or a frozen thawed ball python. So I don't ever watch stuff like that. I know it happens, but I don't want to watch that. And a lot of people who love rats the way we love snakes, they don't want to watch that.
Yeah.
See, like I gotta say, I look at it different because, like, for me, it's when I see an animal eating another animal, not for sport, like a cat eating a mouse. Cats will eat mice or rabbits or whatever and just torture them, play with them for sport, not even eat them. When I see something actually eating another animal, I literally look at it as Discovery Channel every time. I can't, I mean, every single time I'm just like, oh yeah, this is the circle of life, you know? Sometimes you have to die for something else to live. And that thing that's living is very beautiful, you know, and it's something we love. It's sad, but it's
on it, though,
the reality.
Is, again, it comes back to like, what is the goal? If the goal is to get as many, like, essentially likes and comments and stuff like that, and I'm saying this, I don't mean this to be like derogatory, but if the goal is simply to get as many internet points as possible, I think feeding videos makes sense. But if the goal is to get people to buy snakes and to get people to get into the hobby and grow the hobby and make the hobby look positive to the rest of the public, feeding videos harm that. Feeding videos make
I feel like it's just hiding. Because here's the thing: no matter what, those rats gotta die.
Yeah,
no rats, mice, whatever, they gotta die. You know, and I feel like it's not really being transparent if you're not really showing the whole thing. You know, everybody talks about transparency through their breeding, and yet very few people are actually willing to show the full transparency. If you got a snake that died, are you going to tell everybody about the snake that died, or are you just going to keep it under wraps? You know what I'm saying?
We usually do tell people. So, like, would you ever post a video of yourself euthanizing your rats? Like, if you were going to put them down with CO2, would you show that?
Right. Yeah, I would.
I don't think you would put that on YouTube. I think that
I would.
I don't know. I wouldn't personally.
I would. Absolutely, dude. It's absolutely educational to see that stuff for sure.
You can make it educational, but me personally, I don't want to see rats.
And honestly, I feel like
yeah. See, I guess that's where people, because like, yeah, I could feed a snake, rat to a snake, but then like, and I could probably euthanize them too. But then to show that to people, like,
I feel like
I wouldn't really want to watch the video on that.
Like,
gassing rats is worse to me.
I eat chicken. I eat pig. Like, I don't want to watch them being slaughtered. I don't think that it benefits.
See, I've always had that mind state of like, if I'm okay to eat this dead animal, I should be okay to kill that dead animal. You know what I'm saying? Like, otherwise, it's like kind of disrespectful towards it, isn't it? You know, like
again, thinking about it like slightly different is, think of it as like the general public, not necessarily just you, but general public. Do you think that most people in the world who potentially could, let's say, eat a hamburger, want to watch the cow get slaughtered? Not you, the vast majority of people. Do they want to
and maybe that's the problem with the world.
I don't want to see that shit. Excuse me.
You know what I'm saying?
Like, you might specifically like think that it is like more respectful and that you want to see it, and that's fine. I'm not saying that that's wrong. What I'm saying,
not that I want to see it, but I mean, it's like, it's the reality, you know. And I don't feel like I should hide reality from people. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's more of that. It's not like, oh yeah, I want to see this shit. Like, nah, dude, it saddens me every time I feed a dang rat. I'm like, oh man, I'm sorry, little buddy. You know what I'm saying? But it's like,
I'll say this. Jana
you
brought
gotta
up.
do it. It's a part of life.
Well, I'll bring up this comment Jana saying. She said, I was raised the same way. You can catch a fish, you kill the fish and eat the fish, and that's how I was too. I was raised up fishing, hunting. And when after those experiences, I value that life. I respect that life. I realized I would never kill life unnecessarily or to not eat it. But I would say, I don't know. Like, I'm with every. It's hard. I see both arguments as far as like, should we show it? Should we not? I personally don't want to see them. I'm not watching your videos if you're doing live feedings. That's just me. I think even with our podcast last week, I think Derek was like, you can create because Derek started out doing live feeding videos. That's how he got all of his viewers. So he started doing that. But then he, with doing the podcast as well, he said that there were some people that said they wouldn't come on his show because he was doing live feeding videos. He's like, you might, get a lot of following.
He said there could be people. He didn't say that.
Okay, I thought he said
happened. He said there could be people later on with some of the bigger people.
But yeah, like some people said in the comments, and you guys like, it could damage your reputation if you really are trying to make it a big business. You know what I mean? Because maybe a couple years later, once you get some traction, like people look back and maybe see it. But at the same time, I'm with you, Shane, as far as like, it's part of the circle of life, and I mean, I don't know. I guess
in my opinion, I'm just like, okay, if I shouldn't be doing it, then they really shouldn't be clicking on it. Why is everybody clicking on that but won't click on the ones where I'm kissing my snakes or kissing the rats or whatever, you know? Like, it's kind of the whole thing of like, hey man, the algorithm is the people. That's what they want to see.
It is the people.
You know what I'm saying? It's like, I'm gonna tell them no.
It could go back
You
to your
know?
branding. How do you want people to see you? But
Right.
if it's your branding and
But it's also like every breeder feeds rats.
Yeah, no.
You know what I'm saying? Every breeder feeds rats off.
Yeah.
Everybody does. You can't have a snake and not feed.
I agree with you. I think that the argument for transparency, like, I understand that value. Like, if somebody's going to buy a snake, they should be aware of like what it takes to care for them.
Exactly.
Again, I'm not trying to say like specifically for you. I'm just saying like thinking of it from a hobby as a whole, not an individual.
Mm-hmm.
If the goal is to grow it, do you think that that before they've decided they want to buy a snake, so this is like just people who've never really thought about it before and they just see a piece of content, that it is better for them to see a feeding video or a snake coming out of the egg for the very first time they ever see a snake?
Right. Unfortunately, the other videos don't get pushed.
Oh, no, I agree. I completely agree with you. But that's why it's like our job to be like, if the other ones don't get pushed, then and we know the feeding videos will, or that they will get pushed like harder than the like content that would make the hobby look better. We have to be very, in my opinion, it's our responsibility to be careful that the content that we are putting out is going to make the hobby look as good as it possibly can to the rest of the public. Like we just saw all the stuff that happened in Florida, and that really comes down because they didn't even understand the difference between the snakes that they weren't allowed to have and the boa that they were. That is what happens is when when the general public doesn't understand animals.
The fact that they're killing snakes in general makes me just irritated inside. It's not like they were sick snakes. You know what I'm saying? They're healthy snakes, man. I'd have taken them snakes. You know, like I live in Texas. They're legal here. Let me get them. You know, like, man, that's horrible. I hate that.
All right, guys. I'm gonna cut to. No, I apologize, guys. I'm gonna cut to a commercial break. And then we'll kind of like wrap up that tail end of the show. But I just want to say this before I actually get into that, because everybody who's still here, make sure you guys tune in next week because we have Summer from Canova coming out. So it's going to be super, super awesome. Make sure you guys tune in for that. But without further ado, let's get into some commercials.
This week on Python Hunter, Chet Miles encounters his most extreme threat yet.
Got some thorns in my arms, but I got the ball python. Woo-wee! Look at this beauty. Wow. Now it's about time we release this ball python back in its natural habitat. There we go, precious.
What's up, guys? Today we're having a yard sale. That's right, we're selling the whole yard. And today, in the yard, you're going to get the one and only Cub Cadet. Now, this Cub Cadet is the only mower you're ever going to want to mow with. It is, well, this one really ain't working, but hopefully you can get it to work. If it were to work, it would be amazing. Another thing that's coming with the yard sale is this Charmelo grill. Now this Charmelo grill, there's a wasp nest in there and a lot of spider webs. But you can clean it, put some propane down here, and you're gonna have yourself a nice barbecue dinner. Now, I did say that Cub Cadet will be the only model that you would ever want, but you're gonna get this one too. Now, you're still gonna want Cub Cadet, but this one probably works. Come down to John's Yard Sale, where if you buy a yard, everything in it is yours. Get you a yard today.
What really lurks in your backyard? What hides among the thistles? Life can seemingly spring up from anywhere. It can even develop in a stagnant pool of water in an abandoned jacuzzi. Life can be both strange and beautiful. We can even find remnants of its past. Each week we scour the globe to bring you the rarest footage ever captured. Only on Discover Earth.
All right, guys. Thank you for that. And I apologize. I did not mean to cut you guys off or anything.
Oh, no. It's all good.
But Shane,
so like I was saying though, like, so with those feeding videos, I've tried to switch it up more recently on my most recent ones. Trying to do like a more educational approach, explaining on why I feed live or why, I breed rats, stuff like that. Why I use the tongs sometimes to keep the rat from biting the snake, stuff like that. They still don't do as well though.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's hard because it is like that. If we had content that was super controversial and it was like going on a rant, gonna call out all these people, that content's gonna do way better than content where it's
100%.
like top 5 favorite people in the hobby. Like the
100%.
conflict,
Yeah,
or conflict.
It's sad.
Is way better.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is just part of marketing. Part of building a brand is understanding what perception and what reputation you are attaching to your brand. And that is like when we do a lot of our content, we try to provide like educational value, because the idea is if we can teach somebody something, it doesn't mean that we teach everybody everything, but we can teach them something. They're like, oh, that was really useful.
Oh, yeah.
Appreciate that. So that's like helps raise up.
Absolutely. Dude, you nail your content for sure. Every time I watch your videos, I'm like, oh, heck yeah. And it absolutely, you nail that content. And
every time.
And it just sucks because it's like, man, you should be way higher up for even like you guys got like 2.7 thousand subs on YouTube right now, something around there.
Yeah.
I mean, I would think you guys should have like 27,000 subs or 200,000 subs, especially for your production value, the amount of work you guys put in,
there for sure,
all of this, and yet other people out there got 50,000 subs for some feeding videos.
Yeah. And again,
also, hey, what about Brian Barczyk? Whenever he started, he was doing all those clickbaity things, and then he switched it up. So maybe it is. I was kind of thinking, like, you ever notice that all the guys will start off doing the same thing where it's like feeding videos and this and that and this and that, and then they get big, and then they get backlash from it, and then they change.
Well,
you know what I'm saying?
Makes sense.
Well, think about this, like, reputation-wise. If you can, like, not saying anything like any like whether somebody supports or like doesn't support like Brian Barczyk, not going off of like the cancer stuff or anything like that, but he has had a lot of flack like throughout like his reptile career. But then you can take somebody like Canova, who I don't think anybody's ever said a bad word about Justin ever. Like
perfect example,
did stuff like that. Like, and
but he also doesn't have the followers.
I mean, I think realistically,
Brian Barczyk has 3 million.
Followers matter.
3 million.
But does the followers matter more
Or
when
the fact
Justin
that
is
he
he's
can
the best ball python breeder in the entire world?
I think what it is he can sell anything he produces, whereas like
Yeah.
and Jay's Prehistoric Pets and Jay Brewer and all those people that have controversial or clickbaity stuff, a lot of their followers are not potential customers. So it just depends on what you want. If you don't care what
If you want social media to be the main focus of it,
if you don't care what kind of followers you have, you can post whatever you want. But if you
I do think they do have a bunch of potential customers. However, I think that the Brian Barczyk has far less investment Isaacs in there, where Canova is like everybody's an investment Isaac. You know what I'm saying? Like they're all wanting the best genes and stuff. So I mean, it does. You know, it comes down back to like, what are you marketing to? If you notice, Barczyk, he has a bunch of just like kind of plain animals. You know, none of them are really super special for the most part. I mean, I've looked at his morph market over and over trying to get
I'm not sure what he's got on morph market.
I mean, they're all right, but it's nothing that's like
he's got some
wow, you know, like
things. You know what I mean? You know,
it's like he's at his price point is for like a more pet oriented. His price points on his snakes are more like a pet oriented thing. You know, where Canova's like, dude, you're not going to Canova just for a pet. You know, you're going to Canova for some bad shit. It's like
another one that I feel like is also really, really popular, and it's again completely different style. Snake Discovery. Nobody ever has anything bad.
I love them too. Awesome. I love them, and they see that one's a good one, but they don't. It's not about breeding there. It's not just about breeding there. You know, they rarely ever do they actually talk about breeding. It's
educational stuff,
and a lot of it is aimed for the youth. Yeah, like because my 8-year-old daughter, you know, she'll be watching. Yeah, they'll be watching all those live streams where they're just acting goofy and stuff. And it's a lot like how she watches those like Minecraft videos and stuff. Okay. How people are just kind of crazy in there, like it's the same vibe there. But you know, they're targeting their audience. They're going for a younger audience. You know. I don't know. I don't really know where I'm targeting. I gotta say that. I'll say I don't know.
I think Steve and I had this conversation before because I remember
snakes
when we had a conversation on the phone. We were trying to figure out my brand before I ever had a logo, anything. And yeah, we were talking about like, all right, you know, what does your brand represent? How are you going to portray it? You know, like it's everything from your logo to your colors to the way you present yourself to. I mean, there's so many different elements of branding. You know what I mean? But yeah, it's interesting. I'm curious, if it weren't for the snakes and everything, would you be doing like a channel for anything else, or would you use your marketing for something, you know, with one of your hobbies?
I probably would. I was in marketing before we were in snakes, and I didn't do anything like that. If it wasn't for the snakes, I probably would still be gambling my money away on short-term expiry stock options.
No, you wouldn't.
But yeah, like I'm very, very happy that we got into the snakes, and
that's good. Yeah, the snakes are awesome. That's the one thing that like no matter what, we can all see a billion different ways and perspectives and not agree or whatever, but in the end we all have one thing in common, and that's love for the reptiles. You know what I'm saying? It's like we all love these reptiles and we all want the best for them. So I do want to lead back to that FWC stuff. Man, that hurt my soul. I had to stop watching it after a couple minutes, come back to it, watch it again. You know, it's like that's not something that you know, like I would have literally rather seen those snakes get eaten by a gator and be like, hey, you know, a gator got food now, I guess. Yeah, but like, dude, that was oof. I didn't like that. And then the guy in the blue shirt was talking about like I didn't see like the whole thing. I seen the part where he's like, yeah, this sucks, you know, like, and it was before they had killed that boa. He was just talking about killing the snakes in general. He's like, he said something along the lines of, I get whenever they're like in bad health, I'm okay with killing them then, but these are healthy, beautiful animals, you know, and he's having to kill them. I don't know. It was just a rough video in general. You could see there was just.
It's good that he was able to record it because I know we were watching the live with Kevin and US Hark and stuff, and they said that he had set up his phone to record, and that FWC put his covered the camera, and he had to come back in and set it back up. So it is good that it was recorded, because I mean he recorded them euthanizing the boa for no
They shouldn't have
complete. I mean, there is evidence.
Okay, so in that video, who do you guys think was at fault on that one for euthanizing the boa? I think the dude in the gray shirt.
So
I read the little US Arc post on it. I didn't actually watch the
Yeah,
video.
I read that. Yeah.
I can't really watch.
I didn't read that. I watched.
I know they said the
I
boa enclosure was locked because it was like he told them,
Yeah.
this one is good, this one is not a python, this is not, and
Yeah.
they unlocked it, took the boa out, and euthanized it. So
Did you hear what they were saying afterward too?
I can't watch it.
They had to tell the boss, and the boss freaked out on him, and he was like, "What? I told you 10 freaking times." He's like, "Not that one. You can't replace it. It's full of $100,000 in babies. There's nothing we can make it right. No, you can't. There's nothing you can do." It was the boss lost his mind on those guys. I thought it was the boss. I don't know. He sounded like it.
I thought that was the gentleman who owned it. That was
no, because he said the guy. I heard he said this guy is gonna lose his freaking mind.
Is it the guy who owned the snake, or the guy whose facility it wasn't the owner of the snake? It was his friend.
Oh, okay. That makes way more sense. Okay. Because I thought it was like the boss or something, and he's like, that makes more sense. Okay, so it wasn't even his snake. That really sucks.
Yeah, it was somebody else. I don't remember any of their names. But yeah, no, it's not.
The guy in the gray shirt is the one that actually physically grabbed the boa, pulled it out of the enclosure, and said, "I got it," and put it down. The other guys were just holding the snake, they were just holding it down or whatever, doing the thing. But you could tell the dude in the gray shirt was the guy that was orchestrating it, telling everybody what to do and stuff. Yeah. Shame on you, my dude. Shame on you.
There's lots of different, the situation itself was messed up. And the other implications of it is that it is possible for government officials to come into our houses, facilities, whatever it is,
absolutely,
and kill our animals if it gets to the point where the public views that the animals are somehow dangerous or that we shouldn't be having them or anything like that. And that's why I think that it's so important for the entire hobby to be very, very careful about what is being put out to the public.
I think that we need education over regulation, and people are quick to take rights away from people just because they didn't do something they liked or something like that. Where I was speaking about it another time, about how, the bad breeders usually weed themselves out. You can't be successful and be selling sick snakes. You're going to get weeded out eventually either way. And especially in this day and age with so much media, to where you can be put on blast instantly, I think it's getting much more difficult to be a shady breeder in this day and age of so much information so readily available.
Yeah.
So as far as making more regulations for snakes, I don't think there needs to be more regulations. I think that there needs to be more education, not more regulation.
I agree with that. Also, eReptiles in there had said, isn't that against the Fourth Amendment? Yes, unlawful search and seizure is against the Fourth Amendment, but this isn't saying unlawful search and seizure. This is that at some point that there is enough ammunition from organizations like PETA or the general public where the bias against reptiles sways strong enough where there are laws that are enacted saying that you are not allowed to own them anymore. And that's exactly what happened in Florida, is that there were laws that were put in place saying that you are not allowed to own this specific type of animal anymore. And he had a year to get rid of them. He got rid of almost all of them, but not all of them. And he
was
notified
the one
them.
who notified them. He notified them to say, I have this many left. and they said you are not allowed to export them. You are not allowed to move them from your facility. And then they
came and killed them.
They came, yeah.
That's messed up.
Yeah.
And I heard he was I heard he was actually complying and selling off his animals and everything. And those are like the last of the ones he couldn't get rid of, I guess, is from what I read.
But yeah, so that is what when we talk about it, we're not saying like the government just decides tomorrow without doing anything that they're just going to kick in your door. That's not what we're saying. We're not trying to fear monger or anything like that. What we're saying is that, I didn't know we had homes lined up too.
Well,
Jana.
they said he could not
take them out.
Take them out. So they told him to keep him there.
Yeah.
And then they
right, which is just ridiculous, and oh my goodness.
But yeah, it's stuff like that. It shows that it has already happened, and realistically, like the hobby might be upset about this, the general public doesn't care.
Right.
They don't care.
And as far as everybody, being like, oh, well, that's not going to happen to me. I'm grandfathered in. So was he.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And but again, that's why it's so important to be careful about like what we post online, what we're pushing out to the public, because the public can take things that we know are okay, but they can twist it in ways to be like, look, see, they're abusing their animals. This animal is dangerous. All of these different things. Like,
I mean, honestly, I've kind of been waiting for someone to be like, oh man, you treat these rats horribly. And then I'm going to like literally put them on Front Street. Cause like the way I treat my rats, dude, top notch, my guy. For real.
Like we feed. Yeah.
I don't mean to cut. It is getting really late for us. We both.
For sure. We were about to wrap it up anyway.
I do got one or two quick questions for you guys. What do you guys got coming up? Where can we find you? What would you like people to know about you before you guys get out of here?
May 4th, Star Wars Day. We are going to be on Mike with Hurt Collectors.
Good.
Super excited about that one. I think that's the only other one that we have like scheduled like a hard date right now. I know at Daytona I'm doing something with Winston, but we haven't like figured out exactly what's going to end up happening for that. But yeah, I would say May 4th, we're going to be on with Mike from Hurt Collectors.
Nice. Heck yeah. And is there anybody you want to shout out or give recognition to as well?
There are so many people that we could shout out that if we do it and we forget about somebody, we will feel bad. Like
that's all right.
Like
that is totally fine. Well, Stephen and Courtney, I just want to say thank you so much for coming on tonight. You guys are awesome to talk to. I love talking to both of you guys every time. I just learn so much new stuff, and you guys are, just wonderful people. If you guys would stick around for 30 seconds after the outro, and but make sure everybody, you guys gotta subscribe, go to Stephen and Courtney's channel, go to Heads and Tails, make sure you do your rounds, support everybody. And
heck yeah, watch other videos than feeding videos. Come on, make everything else popular too.
That's right.
All right. Everybody, you guys have a wonderful night.